Hey everybody, it's Aquafil again, and this time, well, yesterday was the Extreme Rules pay-per-view by WWE, and of course we're gonna have to take a look at how the event was, because let's face it, WrestleMania and Payback both had good to great cards, but were in the end screwed by, well, bullshit booking. And although the in-ring quality of the matches was decent to good to great, well, with bullshit booking doesn't help at all. And of course Extreme Rules had a nice card, or a card that sounded quite nice itself, and well, let's see how it went. First off, there was the pre-show, or the kickoff show as they call it now, and well, mostly it's video packages, you all know that. The Dudley Boys came out for a promo. And of course, they insulted the New Jersey crowd who chanted EC-Dub, EC-Dub, and they ripped on the new era guys like, well, everything they did, we've been in more hardcore matches than the entire locker room, and everything they did, well, or they do, we did tons and tons better. So, and of course, Devon, let's get Let's get the hell out of New Jersey. Oh, testify. Well, obviously this had to lead somewhere, and Big Cass came out and really dissed the Dudleys, and a brawl ensued, and Big Cass came out the winner. And well, that's a nice way to keep Cass and Enzo Amore in the loop, because with Enzo injured, obviously they can compete in tag team action, and you have to keep them in the loop, otherwise the heat might die down, the positive heat they get, the cheers, and it's an okay way to do that, because, well, the Dudleys in the ring, they're not exactly the type of guys who can really put someone over in a great match. Not today. Not anymore. So, after this match, we had the no DQ match between Dolph Ziggler and Baron Corbin, and as I mentioned in the preview, Corbin desperately needed to win here, because him being a strong bully type heel, it looks ridiculous if he comes up to the main roster, wins the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, and then loses to Dolph Ziggler and loses to Dolph Ziggler, and so on. Here, this no DQ match was rather short, but still nice match, good action for the time they had, and the only thing that bothered me a little bit was how Baron Corbin won, because, well, of course he will do everything to win and make sure that he wins no matter what, but with a low blow against a guy like Dolph Ziggler, he should have crushed him. As much as I like Ziggler, but, well, low blow, end of days, it's a little bit cheap of a victory for Baron Corbin. Still, he won, and that's the most important thing here. After that, we went on to the main show, and it started off great with the Usos and the Club, Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows, one of the, because this match is linked to the main event feud, and the stipulation was pretty nice for me. A Texas Tornado tag match. We don't have them much anymore. And I like the stipulation because this way all guys can really go out. You don't have the hot tag build-ups and so on. But it's a little bit a game changer. It's a game changer for how a tag team match is booked, and to have a little bit, or something that's a little bit different from just building up hot tag and then the hot tag comes and cleaning house and back and forth. Of course, the stipulation benefited Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows, and it showed they dominated most of the match. The Usos had their hope spots and comebacks, but in the end, of course, Anderson and Gallows won. And they needed to win here, because if they lost to the Usos, it would have really damaged their credibility. So, nice. Again, a nice short match. Fun to watch. Nothing too memorable. The United States title match was next. Rusev versus Callisto, and as I said again in the preview, Callisto needs to lose the title, not because I don't like Callisto, but because I really don't see him in high-profile feuds, at least yet. And thus Rusev, who can pull off a high-profile feud, especially if, for example, John Cena or someone like that returns. We have seen Rusev versus Cena, but without the whole booking bullshit, questionable booking decisions. This really could go somewhere and give back some prestige to the United States title. And Rusev here, he dominated Callisto most of the time because, obviously he's a lot bigger, he's a lot stronger, and compared to Ryback, or other than Ryback, he is explosive and not a slowpoke. So, match itself was okay. Callisto, of course, had his comebacks during the match, hit a moonsault from the top rope to the outside, but in the end he went onto the apron and got hurt. And after he got hurt, Rusev still stalked him, tried to hurt him, and somehow he pushed the ref aside and cinched in the accolade. And honestly, that was one hell of an accolade. That really looked fucking painful. So, of course, Callisto taps. Rusev has a win on his resume, is the new United States champion. And hopefully this goes somewhere, because with Rusev, I think it can go farther than with Callisto. Okay match. It's an undercard match, so, it did a job. It did its job pretty well. Next was the WWE Tag Team title match, and somehow I think the show being held in New Jersey, the WWE wanted to have the New Day versus Enzo Amore and Big Cass. Well, they had to go with the Vaudevillains. Nothing against I've got no problem with the Vaudevillains. They're good heels, they're good in the ring, but the match, it was obvious that this wasn't the match WWE had planned because it was rather short. Still, nice match. One surprise was that Big E and Xavier Woods stepped into the ring, and Kofi just stood at ringside. But, Xavier, of course, got dominated. Kofi got interfered near the end, and, after all the distraction, the Big E spear to the outside against Simon Gotch, against Aiden English. Kofi interfered because the ref didn't pay attention, and Xavier Woods could hit the running knee strike, and the New Day retained the titles. And it's, in my opinion, the wise choice here, because you really have to have a New Day against Big Cass and Enzo Amore match. If alone for the New Day promo before the match, where they rip on the Jersey Shore guys. With the Vaudevillains, it was funny with the black and white and the you all know the Vaudevillains gimmick. And okay. Next was the IC title match, the Fatal 4-Way. And before the match, I thought if The Miz won, I'd riot. The match itself, The Miz could retain his title, but I wasn't even mad. It's like this meme. Hey, I'm not even mad. That's amazing. Because the match was awesome. There's not much more to add. It was just plain awesome. It started with Sami Zayn hitting the Helluva Kick against Kevin Owens, Cesaro hitting running uppercut against The Miz, taking them both out of the match. They went against each other, and after a while The Miz interfered, Kevin Owens interfered, and there was tons of action. Really tons of action. I have my notes here. I have to look at some of it up to get the chronological order right. Miz always, during the course of the match, tried to steal the win, which in the end, of course, he did. But matches his gimmick. The other three just went all out. And for example, one of the relatively few spots which involved more guys, in the sense of, well, I try to powerbomb you from the, or I try to superplex you and I try to powerbomb the guy who superplexes, and this stuff almost always is a little bit, well, yeah, it's like, oh, this is booked, they want that spot, and not, it's just a flow of the match, and something that just makes sense at the time. Here we have, for example, Cesaro trying to have a release belly to back or belly to back suplex against Sami Zayn, who tries to hit an exploder on the Miz, and this is something that really works with the flow of the match and makes sense, because he wants to hit a move, Cesaro goes in there, and boom, this whole building up. Well, they had the build up, but Kevin Owens thought, no, screw you guys, not with me. After that, there were uppercuts by Cesaro, somersaults into the corner by Kevin Owens. It's back and forth action. There's a big swing against the Miz. Well, the Miz taps, but not in the big swing, but in a submission hold. And Maurice, has the attention of the referee, so of course he doesn't see it. And, well, Maurice saved the Miz's ass, but afterwards there are tons of near falls. There's even the powerbomb counter by Sami Zayn against Cesaro, which we have already seen, for example, in Pro Wrestling Korea when they went against each other as Claudio Castagnoli and El Generico, and I just love that move, and it shows the precision and the athleticism both guys have. It's just plain awesome. Well, shortly afterwards, a little bit more chaos ensures, and, well, in the end, Miz manages to steal the win from Sami Zayn. But, well, definitely a legitimate match of the year contender. Awesome match of the night, no doubt about it, and more than I could have hoped for with this match. Just plain fucking awesome. Well, the next match, Dean Ambrose versus Chris Jericho, the first ever Asylum match, or let's call it WWE's version of the Lethal Lockdown. And, well, doing the Lethal Lockdown better than the actual Lethal Lockdown. And, the stipulation, one thing I really loved, and I hope WWE would, try to incorporate that in future cage matches, no escaping the cage. That's not the point of the cage match, to escape the cage. It's to keep both guys in, so this escaping stuff is stupid. And it almost every time doesn't really add to the drama, it just makes it less credible. Anyway, Jericho tries to escape the cage, but, well, they won't open the door for him. Ambrose mops Y2J with a mop and hits him in the ear. And one of the funniest moments was Y2J taunting Ambrose, because Y2J has the barbed wire 2x4 while Ambrose just has nunchucks. But apparently Dean Ambrose can handle the nunchucks pretty well, so that was funny, but, well, the match isn't supposed to be funny, or it's supposed to be entertaining but not supposed to be funny. And yes, there was a lot of weapons used, but the biggest problem is somehow the match never really gains a certain flow. The match flow of, for example, the match, the IC title match, just plain awesome. Everything really worked well together. And Dean Ambrose and Chris Jericho, there's no flow, there's no real dynamic there, and in the promos their chemistry is good. In the ring their chemistry is, well, not quite there. And so the match drags on and drags on and drags on and is way too long, and it gets a little bit boring at times, because there is no real fast-paced action and no real hard-fought brawl or hard-fought no DQ kind of wrestling as we see in the main event later on. It's just, well, we hit each other with weapons, one or few of our trademarks, a few other moves, but somehow it doesn't really add up to anything that, well, really captivates me. So, yeah. Well, in the end, Y2J gets powerbombed into thumbtacks. That's nice, because the thumbtacks actually were used, not just poured into the ring, but really used. And kudos to Chris Jericho. He doesn't have to do this shit at this stage of his career, and he still does. Still, I don't know. I think he should concentrate more on Fozzy, because somehow there's a little bit ring rust, and I don't really see the passion in him at the moment he once had in the ring or for the wrestling business. So it's a harsh thing to say, but if Jericho would leave it at that and, well, would just come back for talk or for promos, but not for that many matches, I really could live with that. Although I always was a huge fan. Yeah, in the end, there's a dirty deeds into the tags, and Ambrose gets the win, which obviously was important, because Chris Jericho doesn't need a win here, and he didn't need a win against AJ Styles. So, sadly enough, this, for me, really doesn't put Ambrose any more over than he already was, because, as I said, there wasn't that much chemistry, and the matches were both. The match at Payback and this match were long and a little bit boring. This even more so than the match at Payback. So, on to the Divas title submission match, and I'll keep this one short. A trilogy, and we currently have a trilogy with Charlotte and Natalya in recent, this year, in recent times. A trilogy is supposed to be climatic. The first match is interesting, gets everyone's attention. The second match, pushes the envelope further, and the third match is the decisive match. And well, this one here, it really was totally anticlimactic, because first match this year they both had against each other was the best. The second one was good, still good to okay to good, but not as good as the first one, as I recall. But anyway, this match was the worst match they had, and not just counting this trilogy, but all of the matches they had against each other, this one was the worst, at least at bigger events, because you have to give the gals time to really show off their technical skills in a submission match. And well, the 5 to 10 minutes that could have been cut from Dean Ambrose against Chris Jericho, this match really could have used them. And yeah, well, in the end, of course, Ric Flair is banned from ringside, and we think, maybe it will end clean, but it doesn't. And it's, again, totally bullshit booking. The only match this evening that had bullshit booking, and sadly enough, it's the Divas match and not some undercard match many people don't really give a shit about. Because, well, the way it goes, or the way it is now, Charlotte really needs to turn face and leave her father, or Ric Flair has to turn face and say, hey gal, you always rely on me, on my contacts, on this and that, and somehow I think you really missed the point. I mean, it wouldn't be that logical for Flair or Charlotte to turn now, but somehow it has to happen, because seeing more of this bullshit finishes in the Divas division, or now Women's division, well, it puts them right back to the Divas level of wrestling. Because, yeah, well, now we have talented performers who can work a great match, but in the end they don't really, because the booking gets in the way, because it's, yeah. So something needs to happen here, and it needs to happen fast. Otherwise, the Divas revolution that nobody talks about anymore, because that obviously failed. But with the new era stuff, the women shouldn't be left behind because of this bullshit booking. And then we had the main event, the WWE World Heavyweight Title Extreme Rules match between AJ Styles and Roman Reigns. As I said before in the preview, Roman Reigns should win here, not because I don't like AJ Styles. Hell, I like AJ Styles a lot better than Roman Reigns. I've always loved to see him wrestle in TNA, in Ring of Honor, in New Japan. So still, he isn't the youngest guy anymore, and with a new era for me doesn't just mean new faces or new guys, but young guys. And AJ Styles proved this in this match. He can really put a guy over and make him look better than he actually is, because I'm not a fan of Roman Reigns, but I'm not a hater. I see the potential he has. I loved him in the Shield as a heel. As a singles guy, well, it's mostly the booking and that he appears very limited in the ring. And with the Superman gimmick being limited in the ring is just fucking boring. But still, against Styles, there is stellar chemistry. I've already mentioned that a few times. These two guys have stellar chemistry. Even if the booking and how the story went up to this point, it's interesting, it's cool to see, but somehow a lot of stuff doesn't really make sense. For example, Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows are buddies of AJ from Japan, but, well, he's a face, and he needs to stay face because the people want him as a face, and they will always make him a face, except he fights against a guy that is really popular with the fans. So, and Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson are heels. No question about it, but yet against the Usos earlier the evening, they were cheered. And here, we have boos for Roman Reigns, we have Roman Reigns sucks chants. Okay, we have some sort of dueling chants with Roman Reigns, AJ Styles. But I still think that's more due to the fact that the people want to chant, and the match was really good, so they wanted to show the appreciation of that. And it's not, I don't think that it's exactly that the people who chanted for Reigns really loved Reigns. They just wanted to go in there, because the Roman Reigns chants weren't louder than the Roman Reigns sucks or you can wrestle and whatever. But back to the match, it's it starts right off the bat, and it doesn't take long for them to go into the crowd and brawl their asses off there. And it's a lot of back and forth action. There are a lot of hard spots, because it's not exactly about the weapon use in this match, this Extreme Rules match. It's more about, there's no DQ, and we'll use it because we're going to throw each other through tables or powerbomb each other through tables. We're going to spear ourselves through the barricades. Well, you spear yourself through a barricade if AJ Styles steps out of the way. Roman takes Styles at the feet and hammers him against the ring post, hammers him against the barricade, and then he powerbombs him through the commentary table. And it's really hard fought, and there was no blood, there was no excessive use of weapons. Still, it had the intensity, and it was a hard fought match, and it really didn't disappoint me as an Extreme Rules match. On the contrary, Dean Ambrose and Chris Jericho earlier, they had tons of weapons, but somehow it didn't just really feel extreme. It felt lackluster a little bit. So Styles and Reigns, they delivered. Really good, great match. Thrilling to watch. Lots of, especially in the end, lots of near-fall situations, because, of course, the club saves AJ's ass, the Usos save Roman Reigns' ass, and they attack the other guy, and vice versa, and both AJ Styles and Roman Reigns managed to kick out of, what followed the attacks. And, AJ practically had Roman Reigns beat at one point after the Styles Clash on the chair. The steel chair. I still think it's more plastic than steel, but anyway. But the Usos interfere, and this way Roman Reigns doesn't really look like a Superman, because the Usos interfered on his behalf, and WWE really teased the people who are always who are against the Superman Roman Reigns booking. They teased him a little bit. It went now. It might end now because, well, it was Roman Reigns' first spear, and, well, it didn't. They can do that pretty well with the teasing, but in the end, they really, in the long run, need to lay off the Superman booking anyway, because, well, we all know that we don't like Superman faces because they're stale and boring. After Reigns' ass is saved, well, AJ really went nuts on the Usos and Reigns with the chair. The Usos are out of the picture. Reigns wants to. Reigns gets some shots too, and AJ Styles wants to hit the phenomenal elbow. And, well, he takes too much time and jumps right into a spear. I don't know where the club was at that moment, but, well, that was it for AJ Styles. I'm not mad because I knew that Roman Reigns was going to win, and it just makes sense at this moment, because after the match, Seth Rollins returns. And, well, we obviously all know how that went. He kicked, or he further beat down Roman Reigns and took his title, and he posed. Clear message that he wants his title back, and the Reigns-Rollins feud will be better because this is really new era. And, well, as much as I like AJ Styles, him as a champion, if it's not to push another new era guy, and Styles versus Rollins might have been nice, but Reigns versus Rollins, there's much more history, and it makes for a better storyline. Although going against Reigns, Seth Rollins now is probably the most loved man in the company. Anyway, Extreme Rules was a cool pay-per-view. The only thing let me say first, the Fatal 4-Way match, and both the Fatal 4-Way match and the Extreme Rules match both exceeded my expectations. I loved both matches, especially the Intercontinental title match. The other two big matches, Ambrose, Jericho, and Charlotte, Natalya, well, they disappointed, but as good as the IC and the World Heavyweight title match were, and as, well, short but entertaining the undercard was, I still would recommend this pay-per-view. So, alone for the 4-Way and the Extreme Rules match. So, hopefully you enjoyed my review. You can feel free to write in the commentary section, and soon I want to talk about Cody Rhodes, because, well, he obviously was asked to be let go, and, well, that's for a reason. And I have something else planned, but that might take some time. And of course, in the next days, I want to talk about the Cruiserweight tournament the WWE is going to hold throughout the summer. Hopefully, you'll tune in for all of that. And, well, so long.